and we're back with another episode of the Critical Crew podcast.
Indeed. We'll start off again, as we always do, by introducing ourselves and our lovely guest, our first guest on the podcast here today. I'm Gerald.
I'm Anishka.
And we have a guest, a 5406 alum and 9062 mentor now as well. It's Eris.
Hello.
Yay!
Hurrah. So for this episode, I think the idea was we were going to take a look at some first hot takes pulled straight off of Chief Delphi. And we've got a good number to look through. Why don't we start at the top with some of the ones we were looking at, and let's see where we go from there.
All right.
Anushka, you want to start us off?
So the first one is scouting is more fun than watching matches normally. And if you can't handle doing a single scouting shift, I don't know how you can actually enjoy FRC.
That is quite the take. I wouldn't say it's more fun, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I do still think
It's enjoyable.
It can be fun. It definitely is much more fun when you're scouting a high-level robot.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I'm watching matches, I'm watching for, 2056 or Team Dave or Symbotics, and I do try to keep track of, coral count, or, game... This year, that would be coral count, but, game pieces scored and their strategies and stuff, because it's just kind of fun to keep track of that sort of thing, but... I can see... I definitely understand why a lot of people find it boring. I don't know about
Yeah, and I think if you're doing more I guess in-depth scouting, where it's you have to count every single coral that's been placed on the reef or whatever, then that can get kind of tedious, and it does get really tiring after a while, even if you really do love watching FRC, because if you're tracking a singular robot, you don't get to really enjoy the match. Whereas if you're kind of just lightly scouting, being this robot can do this, then I think that's more enjoyable.
Yeah.
I would honestly say, it can get repetitive. I will say, I've heard from a lot of people that, yes, scouting the match for, the first time or the first event, yes, it's fun. But constantly having to do it, repetitively as a team role, it does get a bit tiring. And I can see why people, can, say, oh, I can't handle this because I've been doing repetitively for event. So,
I definitely
whilst I
think
do find it enjoyable,
Yeah.
It's honestly just repetitive.
Yeah.
I do think it also depends a little bit on the resources your team has set up for scouting. Obviously, I know a lot of teams develop their own apps, or there's LowVat by 8033, or plenty of other all the other scouting apps that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really have to find something that works well for your team. And there are ways I've heard of making it more enjoyable as well, almost gamifying it and doing predictions and that sort of thing. I think you definitely have to put some work into making it more than just if you're writing stuff down on a clipboard and handing it to a scouting lead, then obviously that's going to be more boring than just watching the match.
Yeah. And I think scouters obviously do need breaks. I understand teams being having less students to scout matches, but scouters do need breaks. It does get tiring just sitting there watching robots for a long time, even if you really do love what you're doing.
Okay. Do we want to move on to the second post here then?
Sure, yeah.
Unless we have anything else, or any of you guys have anything else to add to that?
Not really. I just want food in the stands when I'm scouting.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a good point. So the second one we have here is mentors are underutilized on the vast majority of FRC teams. To put it another way, almost every FRC team would have a better experience on and off the field if they weren't so focused on being student-led and truly embraced everyone as an important member, regardless of age. I very much agree with this take, actually. I think there's a balance to be struck, and it heavily depends on where your students are at. If your students are capable of doing everything and they're capable of doing it well, go for it. Otherwise, mentors, I think one of the best ways a mentor can teach or pass along their experience, or even older students can pass along their experience to newer students, is just working alongside them. Like, working together on stuff is a huge asset, and I think that it's hugely lost in a lot of education, not just FRC itself, but I think we have an amazing opportunity to utilize it more in FRC that I don't think enough teams do.
Yeah, and I think we discussed that, I guess, somewhat in our last episode. Like, yeah, I do agree. I think because a lot of teams, I guess, are kind of afraid of falling into like being mentor built, right? So they kind of prefer to have their students do everything, even if the students, as you said, like aren't necessarily in a place to be able to do that quite yet, and they might need more mentor support.
I will say it is kind of difficult sometimes for teams to kind of strike the balance between mentor and student. They usually, when they try to do it, they usually lean
one way or the other.
Either one way or the other. There's not really like kind of a proper or nice way to like do it easily.
Yeah.
It's kind of like always lean towards one way. But if you can do it, it is really like good for the team.
It's definitely a balance that needs to be struck. I imagine it's a bit harder to do on larger teams as well. When you have so many members that your mentors just have too many students to one-on-one work alongside to teach, then obviously that becomes a bit more of a difficult balance to strike, alongside a lot of other difficulties that come with being that large. But I think overall I definitely still agree with that.
Yeah, I remember Celtics. So in 2023, I don't believe we had a team limit. And then in 2024, I believe we did switch to a team limit because some of our mentors, this is a common thing for some teams a lot of the time, but mentors will leave, mentors will come and go. And then mentors will also sometimes get like overwhelmed. So they want to strike a balance between how many students they can teach within the facilities that they have access to. So I think in 2024, Celtics had 30. This year we had 40 to increase it. And then we had that through team trials and items like that. And I guess that's kind of how we struck the balance between student built, I guess, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
Also retaining mentors on the team to help out as well.
Like, I think around like 30 is a good number. Because I feel like there are definitely benefits to smaller teams. And I feel like one of the problems that I've seen with larger teams is that, like, I often see like a kind of like a smaller subsection of people that are doing the majority of the work, and a lot of other people on the team are kind of just there. You know, like they'll like maybe scout, do like a teeny bit of CAD, but then there's like the people that are like staying very, very late in the lab, like CADing the entire robot. And like, yeah.
Some of that just comes down to student commitment too. Some students are willing to commit a lot more time than others, and that just is going to happen. That is going to be different from person to person. You can have an amazing FRC team with 5 very dedicated students, and you can have a not so competitive FRC team with many students. It kind of depends on your program goals and what you as a mentor and what your students value as the reason they're doing it in the first place. And then also, again, the balance between mentor and student, I definitely think.
I understand that some teams usually don't go for like event wins or stuff like that necessarily as the primary goal that most teams want to go for. They usually want to go for awards like impact or sustainability, which I believe that we as a team would like to, as INO62 in the future that I've heard.
I think we're definitely trying to do a lot more work on awards going forward in terms of just building up our portfolio of that stuff. Impact's definitely a harder one to win here in Ontario, but I think
I think
it's not impossible.
There's got to be at least one instance of me making a face and hitting something, per episode. Requirement at this point.
Requirement for something to break on the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to move on to the next one?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Harris, did you want to read this one perchance? You can kind of cycle between. Okay.
Oh, I'm lost. I'm getting old.
Oh no.
All right, here we go. They should get rid of Serpentine for the World Championship. Let Alliance 1 select the top 3 robots. I know this is very unfair to other teams in the division, but it could lead to some very high-scoring matches. Einstein's would just be the best teams going head-to-head. Either that or top 15 qualifying, from which division goes to a final Einstein Alliance selection plus playoff bracket.
I don't know, like,
I don't.
because part of me wants to see like an absolutely like insane overpowered alliance, just like
I think
setting crazy scores, but
I think the best solution to this, honestly, is to just have an all-stars like game or match at Worlds or as an off-season event. I know IRI and some of those other off-season events tend to kind of attract that sort of thing, but I think just having an official like all-star event that's invitation only to some of like your division winners and top performing robots from districts and that sort of thing would be really cool to see. I'd love to see like 3 really high level robots on an alliance playing the FRC game of.
I believe this has happened before officially, and also like as an off-season. I believe Kettering All-Star is somewhat of a thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's true.
yeah.
And then 2017 had the 2 World Championship alliances, winning alliances, go against each other. So St. Louis versus Houston in 2017, Greybot versus Poof Alliance, and that went down with the 5 finals matches. So that's kind of like
5
powerful-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Houston went to 2, and then St. Louis went to 3.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, and I don't think it's the best solution to the problem of wanting to see more extremely high level play, but I don't disagree with the sentiment. I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I think Serpentine is just kind of makes it fair.
Yeah.
It kind of depends where you are too. I know it's a little bit still like usually for the most part like your A1 is still way stronger than your A5 or 4 even.
Yeah, but I mean we've seen like kind of lower alliances do like insane things.
It definitely gets better the further you get on into the season, and I don't think that's a problem per se either. Serpentine isn't just automatic. Each alliance is equally matched now.
Yeah, but it does make it more fair, because if it was like one crazy overpowered alliance and like one that's like still pretty good robots, like like A1 would like annihilate A8, you know?
Just utterly and completely, even more than they already do.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a little bit of Ontario bias. I think I'm pretty sure that we're a bit more A1 winning heavy than maybe some other places, because we do have a lot of powerhouse teams in the area, but
I know it also sometimes within Ontario, I believe it sometimes depends on events. I understand that like it could be like these events that could have like overpowered teams, and then these events could have like midfield tier teams, but still really good teams within Ontario. Yeah. But I'm gonna roll back to Serpentine really quickly, but I believe because we've seen like complete.
Did I die? Am I back?
You're back.
You're back.
Okay.
Because we've seen, like, if you looked at I believe it was Citrus's division of Daily, I believe, this year, we saw the field burn, and then so that it would disrupt the OP Citrus Alliance because of matches, and I understand that completely shifts up the field, makes things interesting.
Yeah, it definitely threw things off. Citrus OP would have been so cool, but it is also quite interesting to see. It's kind of poetic the way the streak ended.
I want to see the 11.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to move on to the next?
Yeah, we'll move on to the next.
Sure.
All right. If you qualify for Worlds, you should have to publish your CAD and code, and all impact essays and videos should be public. I think FIRST as a community is better when we can learn from each other.
So, both 5406 and 9062 are OA teams. We'll start out by saying that. I definitely agree for the most part that having that open communication between teams and being able to just directly look at the CAD and stuff is very helpful. I've learned a lot doing something similar, like design reviews and talking to people from other teams in like DDS and other such places. Like most of what I know is because I was involved in those communities, but I've talked to some people from the other side of the argument, which are like, we want other teams to come up with their own stuff. We will, like 2056, for example, they publish their technical binder every year, or will have for the past 2 years. And they use that as sort of here's a way to get inspiration from us. We're not publishing our CAD because we don't think that I am sure it's partially a competitive thing. We don't want other people stealing some of our secret sauce, but also just force a little bit more creativity into the community,
Like,
I guess.
Like, I think it's one thing to like learn from a highly competitive team and kind of see the different tricks and stuff they use, whereas some people who don't necessarily have like the design knowledge they can just copy. Like, there's a difference between just copying and actually learning, and I think it'd be more beneficial for people to actually like learn more in depth about the CAD and design aspects of very, very highly competitive robots.
I agree. I know there are rules about that sort of thing, especially in software. I'm pretty sure there's a rule about requiring previous code to be published if you're reusing it, but I also know that those rules aren't followed or policed very well.
Not well.
Yeah.
Jumping back to 2056, in 2024, I believe, I saw a lot of team copies after. I believe they released their technical binder earlier than this year.
Yes, they
in
definitely
2024.
did.
So I saw copies from teams like
694, I think. Well, Buckswrath had their in-season bot was essentially the same as 2056.
Yeah, I know a couple Beach City, I think, had something similar as well.
Stoypulse did a clone, I think, too.
4551 terabytes, I believe I saw as well. So a lot of teams like kind of bridged off of OP there in 2024, and I saw a lot of copies there, and I feel like the decision this year why they decided to publish the technical binder like after the season, I believe.
I believe they published it after the season last year as well. I think teams just copied the archetype because the archetype was decently easy to implement. Like, I know 195 did a complete rebuild into OP's archetype pretty quickly, but I don't think they had the actual CAD for it or anything. I'm pretty sure it was just, I think we can execute that archetype really quick. Let's just CAD it up and do it.
Speaking of rebuilds, actually, I have a hot take of my own that I personally am not a fan of rebuilds. Like, I feel like especially last season and stuff, we've been seeing so many teams do rebuilds. Like, I feel like it's a lot more prevalent now. And I'm personally like not a fan.
I think if your team has the resources and the time and is confident to do it, go for it. I don't care all that much. It's a risk. It's a pretty big risk because you don't throw out all of the lessons you learn per se, but you throw out all the actual work you've done prior in the season, and especially if you're already in competition weeks, you don't have a lot of time. And
Yeah.
I can see definitely that depending on the number of students you have, that might be very, very taxing on your students themselves. But I'm not completely against them either. I think if you have the resources and you think you can pull it off, go for it.
Yeah.
I
But
think it's very
like
easy
it's
to
very like
overlook.
high risk, high reward
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
But I think I don't know, like for me it's like teams that will randomly like rebuild their robot in the middle of the season to be a clone of like a really high performing robot. I'm like, I don't know. It's
The
just like
clone I definitely can see being, or cloning I definitely can see being a little bit more opposed to, but something like High Tide 2024, where it's a rebuild from one archetype that's pretty much like their archetype to another archetype that's also pretty unique to them. Something like that is definitely something I'm more of a, or it's a little bit easier to be like, yeah, that's fine. I go ahead, I guess. But
I think
like,
they did this year as well.
yes. Though this year's was kind of close to being like a Citrus OP mashup. No, I'm pretty sure it was like
Yes.
sort of just a mix between those two.
I believe so. Because when I saw them at, I think, Wanimi Port, I think was their first event.
Yeah. Yes.
Sure. But I saw the folding system they had, like,
Yeah.
the first
Which
time.
is a
and
very
then-
cool archetype, by the way. I love that
dude.
archetype.
Amazing. And then I saw the sudden shift in their second event. And I'm like, what happened? Like, it was like just sudden shift between this event and then that event. But mind you, they do have the resources as the team. Like,
And they've
big
proven
funding.
it multiple times.
They've proven it multiple times. Like,
I'm pretty
so-
sure one of the FabWorks like guys is one of their mentors as well.
I believe JJ is his name.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, they obviously have the resources and time to do it, and the money to do it. So, all power to them, I guess. But I can, yeah, I'm sort of neutral on that one. So it depends what you end up doing for it.
I'm honestly just not really in that field
Yeah.
because my team hasn't done much rebuilds as far as I'm concerned. In 2023, we kind of had, well, the intake there, but not really much rebuilds. Like, we kind of just decide as a team, like, hey, this is kind of what we want to do for the season. This is what we want to achieve. Build the bot, and then if something's not working, we can always just change the design. But we never really kind of clone another robot.
Iteration as opposed to just throw it all out and
yeah.
start again. Yeah. It's definitely my preferred method, though there have been times where I've been like, you know, this idea I thought was a really good idea before, maybe it wasn't such a good idea, and I can definitely see rebuilding for some stuff. Like, I know the original High Tide archetype, for example, did have, maybe not their implementation specifically, but Miso had a very similar bot, 9442, as their bot, and they had a lot of issues with center of gravity being too high, and some of that stuff. So I can see there were definitely some flaws with the archetype that they would have been reasons to rebuild, for sure.
Alright, which one are we on now?
I think the next one is 4-team alliances should be standard for all playoffs at regional and district level. Yes.
Yes.
I think that's fine. I don't really have an opinion either way.
I like the 4-thing alliance. Like, I think it's I think it's good because instead of just relying on backup bots and stuff.
Yeah, I know there have been some qualms from certain teams about backup bot shenanigans. Like, there's been some ways to play the system a little bit and that sort of thing. But also,
strategy purposes and stuff.
It does feel a little bit like, depending on the event, it might be good at a larger event where you have more mid-tier teams, but at an event where like that might use up almost all of the teams there, the backup bot, you kind of it's tricky. I think you'd have to make it depend on event size a little bit, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a second part of that post that I missed initially, which is that C++ is a better implementation of command base than Java, and that's probably the more hot take of this hot take. I don't know how much either of you will have to say on this. I did do programming
I don't
for
know.
a good
I
portion of time. I
We're,
haven't used
we're mechanical
yeah.
nerds.
I haven't used C++, but no, hello.
Oh, your camera.
Camera. Brink of the podcast.
It'll turn on eventually again. There we go. And then I click the button, and then I click the other button, and then everything is fine. I haven't used C++, so I can't really say for sure which is better. I enjoyed writing software in Java while I was on FRC. I thought it was pretty decent workflow once I sort of figured things out. Didn't have too many major issues with the command base implementation, other than maybe not fully understanding it at the time. But yeah, I don't have much to say on that, even though I was programming at one point. Our next one that we had bookmarked.
I feel like we're just completely out of order at this point, but it's fine.
I lost where we were going.
I've been trying to keep it in order so far. I think we're at 7 out of the ones we had, I believe.
Perhaps.
This one is, it's already been said numerous times in other threads, but the Einstein interludes are ridiculous and can be much better utilized for experiences where students actually learn about the program, not sponsor promotions or horribly loud shows and events. It's definitely not ideal that virtually all students on my team were complaining of overly loud music hurting these ears, as well as those guys with the angle grinders. That was quite something. I gotta love a bunch of angle grinders on stage.
I open the stream, I just see angle grinders and like jars of colored liquid, and I'm like, what is happening? Because it was muted too.
And
so
also
like,
no safety glasses, which was cool.
I was there. I was there.
Yeah.
As a former safety captain, I'm horrified.
When I saw no safety glasses, like, okay, well, this is first. Well, where are you lost? Like, this is
of all the places to forget safety glasses, this is not it.
It is on Einstein on FRC as well.
Yeah.
It's like ironic in a way.
Yeah, like.
But yeah, like I feel like that kind of halftime show is. Because I feel like part of it, like I do like that kind of.
I think there's definitely opportunities
aspect of
to
big
do
competitions.
Things, but I think you can like, FRC isn't a majorly watched sport. We're not gonna attract a whole bunch of extra people by having a somewhat obscure band play. I don't know how obscure that band was. I'm not in the music sphere or whatever. It's just not representative of the guys that played at Einstein's, but like. Having a relatively known or just a band play isn't going to attract more people per se. They're going for the robots, not the music.
Yeah. I think part of it though is for the experience, like having it almost be like, cause you know the whole thing about like, oh, the robotics is our sport, right? Kind of making it almost like a halftime show at like some big sporting event and stuff.
Even then,
I do like that. I think it's fun, but I do think. I like what they did in Ontario because they usually have like a band play and everyone's like dancing together, and then there's usually like a conga line that gets tangled around the stadium, and it's very fun.
I think they could maybe do more stuff with like, I think they could do more stuff with actually like robotics related stuff, maybe like match analysis or some. Like interviews or something, but
they do match analysis of Einstein, I believe. They did with Blair and
yeah, they did. I think that was mostly live stuff, which that makes sense. It's tricky. I know. I had some ideas when it was happening for why don't we just do this instead, but I completely forget what they were, unfortunately.
It's even something like, I don't know, like battle bots or something could be cool, or like a human
Yeah.
match where all the humans are the robots and
That
they
as
like
well,
do the
actually, the human matches
That's
are
so
so fun.
fun.
They're so fun.
Yeah, like it's so funny to watch too. Like I feel like you need to get the crowd like hyped up, but like not with unsafe angle grinder.
Music. Yeah. Yeah.
Einstein playing Einstein, but the robots are humans would actually be so like.
It would be so
just
hype.
imagine that.
It'd be so hype.
Representatives of each team compete for who wins human player Einstein versus real Einstein. That'd be so cool, actually.
Yeah, like that would be so fun. It would be like engaging to the students and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think yeah, like I remember when I was there in 2023 at Worlds, like it definitely got quite loud. And I think that's kind of the whole thing. They're like, everyone get loud, yeah, Einstein. But I think that's part of the fun, and obviously
that's kind of the nature of Einstein.
Yeah.
They kind of want to get the crowd going because it is the biggest stage in FRC history. You are in the world finals field here on Einstein.
Yeah.
So I guess I understand where it comes from. Being loud, but I will say it can get loud at sometimes.
Yeah, like I like that's why I think they have like the quiet rooms and stuff because it can definitely be like overwhelming and stuff. Okay, moving on to the next one.
Yeah, I won't have much to say about this one. I'm not, unfortunately, not extremely FRC history knowledgeable, but we have Eris here. Let's go. Two of my hottest takes around FRC game designs. Stronghold 2016 was one of the worst / most boring games in the last 10 years. Taking a step back from the high-level play of early events were often won by teams who could best drive over bumps on the ground. Combine that with long field reset, defense changing times, and scoring elements that would become dislodged mid-match because of missing pins and sheared pins. It made for some of the longest, most draining spectator days in my 15 years at FIRST. And Lunacy was a decent game, sabotaged by a bad new control system. Engineering challenge of a low traction field made for some really cool drivetrain and propulsion designs. The aspect of having to score in a trailer pulled by your opponents while protecting the trailer you are pulling from your opponent was a lot of fun. Could it have been better? Of course, but I don't think it belongs in the all-time bad column.
Because Lunacy was that the one where they like the robots sometimes they would create almost like so much static energy that it would like mess with their systems? Was it that year?
So Lunacy in 2009 was, I think, the only year that they changed the flooring and the drive system that you guys had.
Yeah.
During that, it was these kind of weird slick wheels that were on the floor surface of like this kind of like hockey rink, I guess. Like if you want to say like this kind of like ice-ish material.
I remember.
I didn't really go into Lunacy as a person who looks into FRC history a lot. I don't really look into like things like the issues that I had, like control systems and things. I usually look at analytics, but I can't see the frustration in like this bad new control system that they're saying. I personally wouldn't know because I wasn't there in person.
Fair enough.
As a student, but honestly, like they've got their opinions on bad control systems, and maybe there could have been a better control system or better way people could have seen it. As for Stronghold, honestly, yes, there were issues on like the scoring elements and the defenses being dislodged. That was an issue. But mind you, that was the first year that FRC did this kind of themed thing, kind of took a new approach to it, because we all know the previous year recycling bins and trash stacking. That was something.
Quite the year.
But I wouldn't say Stronghold was the worst, like most boring game. Like you have other games like Steamworks where you were just delivering gears and just crossing the field.
I like Steamworks. I quite like Steamworks. If I had to play like any season for Mystery, I'd probably play Steamworks. Like it just
there is a simulator that you can play most of Steamworks.
Good to know.
I'm mixed.
Yeah, I think-
I wouldn't say it is the. Sorry, I just gotta finish really quickly. I wouldn't say it is the worst, most boring game because it was the first year that students had like this kind of theme to build around, like medieval. Like, come on. But I'm just gonna say, like, in my opinion, it wasn't the worst or the most boring game, but people might have other opinions. I just finished there.
I know the terrain game concept is pretty disliked along. It's pretty controversial, and I know a lot of people who very much dislike the concept. I'm a fan of the more recent games that they've done, Crescendo, and I think Rescape were pretty good as far as game design concepts go. I'm looking forward to see what they come up with in 2026. I don't have a ton of opinions on 2016. I think some of the robot archetypes you could come up with that year were pretty cool. And I don't really know anything about Lunacy, unfortunately.
Sand game.
Yeah.
Sand game.
Sand game.
I
would
think
be
like
quite
Lunacy,
something.
like the concept of Lunacy honestly sounds quite cool. Like
I
I
agree.
think they should do something similar.
I
'Cause
know
I think
people have suggested that. The problem
the whole idea of
is-
like having like scoring in a trailer that the other the other alliance is playing, like that is such a cool concept that I think they should definitely try to bring back now that we have more kind of advanced systems and
It's definitely
better
going to
military
be a
everything.
lot harder if they try. Because teams are very fast now and also swerve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that would be so interesting to see, I think.
It would be quite interesting. The other thing is the low traction. If bringing that part in, I've seen people suggest like trying a different field material, but there's a lot of issues that would cause within the like. All your practice fields are now. They need to spend so much money on a new surface that might not play friendly with the way they function or play nice with the way they function. All your teams, your low resource teams that have like a couple pieces of used carpet, all of a sudden have to, if they want to build a decent or be able to test their robot at all, they need to buy some slick surface, some very specific, likely very expensive surface, and enough of it to properly drive practice on to even get an idea of how their robot drives. I think it's an interesting idea. I don't think it would work with the way FIRST is set up right now.
Yeah, like I think like the fields maybe not, but like the whole concept of having
that is an
the
interesting
trailer being
concept.
pulled by the other team, I think would be pretty cool.
You're trying to score whilst also being a target for the other team to score on.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna quickly add into this, but we're in the era of swerve, and also Lunacy had a bunch of collisions as well. I'd be concerned sometimes, if we transferred the Lunacy concept to now, like how dangerous would that be?
There
after,
would be
like,
so many more breaks.
It would be so bad.
Ben frame
Like,
rails.
Yeah, like if you thought Crescendo was bad, this would be worse.
This
but
would
also
be
like
worse.
with the bumper rules, I think that'd be interesting to see what kind of
very interesting
bumpers people will come up with for like a modern day version of Lunacy.
Broken frame rails.
Like that one GIF that always gets posted of that robot just completely falling to smithereens. That's what would happen.
Oh, get the message.
All right, moving on.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Where are we?
I think this should be number 9, maybe?
I don't know. I've lost count.
Okay.
Quite honestly.
I can keep reading them out. I've got them all in order and I know where we are.
Okay.
So this is another 2 hot takes in one. Hot take number 1 is many judged awards are lame. I've been doing this for almost 15 years and I honestly can't remember what the Innovation in Controls award is for. He adds that his team has won it and cut one of the judged awards and add popular vote MVP award. Okay. Interesting. I don't hate it. I've never been super involved or invested in the awards. So I don't have huge opinions. What I do have opinions on about awards is the AI generated award speeches.
Oh my gosh,
that I
yes.
think we can
That
do
is,
away
like-
with.
That was.
It's a plague. It's a
It
plague,
was-
quite honestly.
It was
They should
so
implement
bad.
like those. They should implement
Like,
like
they,
those
if they need,
school
if like, I
factors.
feel like they need to put like a good quality
the
test
school
in
things
there.
that check if it's AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the idea of like a popular vote MVP award. Like, I
I
think
do as well.
I think like STEMly and stuff has kind of voted awards. Like, I do like that. I think I do like that aspect of STEMly and overtime
I think
of the voted awards.
there is the danger of just the same couple teams winning it over and over and over again, though. You get,
Yeah.
like, it would be, I can imagine it being very difficult to break into that award as, like, a rookie team or a team that's been around for a while and maybe just isn't in the spotlight all the time or most of the
Yeah.
time. And can see that being a bit of a sticking point there. I like the idea. I don't know that it should be an award. Maybe it's
Not
just,
like an award worth like
Yeah.
district points or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that, but I think something maybe. I think they should have like almost like superlatives, almost like, oh, like people vote
Like-
for a
like
team
they
who
have
think
the
it's like really really graciously professional or something like that.
safety award or whatever, where it's like you nominate people or whatever for that.
Safety
Mm.
All-Star,
Yeah, safety all-star, that sort of thing. Maybe.
But I'm also worried that if there are voted awards like the MVP, we have like sometimes teams conferring with each other to kind
Yeah.
of rig the vote sometimes.
Yeah.
That would also be an issue, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
The second part of that hot take is the only thing worse than Recycle Rush were first parody songs.
No.
I don't know
I
anything
love the first
about
parody
that.
song. They're wonderful. I went on a whole like internet rabbit hole, and they're wonderful, and I love them. I think they're wonderful and great.
I need to click this link at some time and at some point and find out what. I need to dive down this rabbit hole to figure out whether or not I
They're
agree
great.
with
They're
this.
great. Like, if you're like a big robot nerd, you'll like them.
Good
I
to know.
think.
Okay, the next hot takes thread we've got here. I want a human player in the center of the field again. Was very fun to watch. I agree.
Yeah, I think I do like games with a good amount of human player involvement. Like, I think Reefscape was good for that. I think Crescendo is pretty good with the high notes as well. But yeah, like something like Steamworks and stuff where there's like a lot of human player involvement, I think is really fun. Obviously, like a lot of pressure on the human players, but it's fun.
I quite like the amount of human player involvement they've been doing in the past couple of years. I felt like
Yeah.
Processor was pretty interesting this year,
Mm-hmm.
all things considered, and the choral stations were important enough as well that it like actually mattered how you did things. I thought they did a good job with human player involvement last year.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
did also like 2024
Yeah.
pretty well with it. I think it maybe wasn't as good per se as Reefscape, but I don't know. It wasn't as good as Reefscape for human player involvement. I think you throw one high note, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know.
I totally wasn't in 2024 human player.
No, definitely not. There's not a high note in the background at all.
Yeah.
I love my
Like, I think
notes.
the throwing of the high notes was really fun because everyone's like, yeah,
My thing
throw
was-
the high note.
It only
And they
happened
throw
once,
it.
and it was really inconsistent and hard. I wasn't a human player, so I'm not speaking from experience.
Man,
but-
I had to train for that.
As someone
I had
with
to go
like
through
zero
rigorous
athletic ability,
training.
that sounded terrifying, but
Yeah.
I feel like if you're like good at what you do, then I think that could be pretty fun.
I agree. The next one we have is from yours truly, so I won't weigh in on this. 254 is not the best team in FRC. 2056 is more consistent, builds simpler robots, and has had higher performing robots than 254 in over half of their seasons, as a quick example.
I mean,
I mean,
I mean-
It's a hot take.
coming from the Glazers.
That's fair criticism, but like
I mean, I feel like we do have heavy Ontario bias here,
We do.
but and also like
yeah.
there
Got
is
a lot
heavy
of
We've been more
bias.
exposed to OP than
Yeah.
Poops. Like, we can't fly all the way to California and then see. I know the Poops have traveled here before in 2014 for Waterloo.
Yep.
I love the
But
fact you just know that off the top of your head.
FRC historian, so.
But yeah.
But honestly, I think we've been more exposed to OP, so honestly,
Yeah.
I would know.
Like
more.
we'd obviously favor them, but
We obviously favor OP.
No, I just from my perspective, what I care about more is the archetypes a team is building and how consistent and well they do, and I just think the ultimate team to look up to for that is just 2056. The build robots that generally I find teams can look at and think, we can do that, which I think is something that's overlooked by a lot of people when they are talking about that discussion of who's the best. Moving on from that, this is a long one. There are about 7 hot takes in this.
7.
There are 7. So we are going to go through some of them.
do you want to take turns?
Sure.
What number is it? I
This
completely lost it.
this is 11. This is hot take 11 through, I guess, 16, 17. What am I saying? I can't count today. Okay. Matt.
All right, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So, hot take number 1 of this post is there should be objective program requirements along the lines of resources, space, mentor support, and program sustainability to start or continue operating an FRC team. That's
an interesting one.
That
an
is a
interesting take.
That
That's a
is
very
certain-
interesting one, actually.
That is making me think. I don't completely disagree. I don't know if I agree yet. I definitely think there are a lot of teams that are operating outside their means and should maybe move over to FTC. And this actually, I'm going to read out the second hot take because it pertains to this a little bit as well, which is at least 30% of all FRC programs are better served by FTC and should switch programs, including many of you on this website. People refuse to switch to FTC because they think they're built different / better than others, or think FTC is boring and would rather be mediocre in a fun program than competitive and sustainable in a boring program, or their personal goals of whatever they want to do with FRC are more important than FRC's actual program goals. I think I agree to a certain extent. I think maybe if you do that, there has to be a bit of a better pipeline between the two programs, and some resources for teams switching between FRC and FTC, because they are different programs that do have different design philosophies and ways of doing strategy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can't. I don't think it's a good idea to necessarily completely restrict FRC to the point where it's nobody can get in it, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be
you don't want to
screening
make
FRC
STEM
teams.
that's just
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do also think the FTC is unnecessarily hated on. It's
I agree.
pretty good. I think it's a great option for teams who want to have that kind of level of competition, but don't necessarily have the resources to run a full FRC team. Because FRC teams are expensive, and you need space, you need resources.
I agree.
Yeah.
These programs are competitive in their nature, and operating a program without the intention of being competitive is disrespectful to the teams you compete with and against the founding principles of FIRST. You don't need to be the best team in the world, you just need to put in the honest effort and try to play the game the best you can. People who do not care for the competitive nature of these programs should focus their efforts towards other STEM clubs and science fairs. I am going to go out on a limb and say I agree. It's definitely a controversial take, and I know personally and have been involved with teams who would say very much the opposite. I am a bit of a competitive person, and a lot of my friends that I've made through FRC are also very more competitive than I am. And that definitely has given me a little bit of bias there, but I think you get so much more out of the program when you try to compete at a higher level and put in the effort than if you just exist, build a robot, and are happy that you built a robot.
I feel like I don't know if I necessarily fully agree, but I do think like there are obviously teams who might not have the resources, or they might be kind of going through like a rebuilding year, or like, you know, like teams who might have suddenly like had a whole like huge graduating class if their core members graduate, or like had mentors leave, you know, like these things happen.
The point of this is to say you have to be good. I think the point of this is to say you have to try to be good, and I know people who don't. Or teams
just try your best, I guess.
Like I feel like I think the whole point is
put
like
effort into it.
And obviously some teams best.
And into getting better as well, I think is the point of the point, and I agree at the end of the day myself.
Like I've never really, to me, like I've never really seen teams who haven't like tried. Like everyone tries to build a decent robot with the resources and stuff that they have. To me, like, that's what
I wish I could say the same. My experience is very much the opposite, and despite some pressure from students to try and be more competitive, I've seen teams that went very much the opposite direction and went all in on we're not trying to be competitive, we're just trying to build robots and have fun, and throw away or ignore a bunch of resources that are available. And I don't think that's the spirit of the program. I don't think that's the spirit of competing in FRC. And that's, I guess, why I agree.
Like, I feel like that kind of attitude would be more so reserved for, like, fun off-season builds, not, like, an actual in-season.
I'm all for goofy off-season builds. We're all on 9062 after all. We built Baguette. Like, goofy off-season builds, go for it, man. Let's do some crazy stuff. But I do wish more teams put in a bit more effort in season to be more competitive and reached out in the community for resources like FRC design and some of these other things that exist that a lot of teams just don't take advantage of at all. And I think FIRST could definitely help out a little bit as well by making those communities a little bit more accessible. Just like including pamphlets to the websites like frcdesign.org and that sort of thing in the kit of parts or whatever. Like, I know it can be kind of difficult to get involved in that community, and some of the teams I know are pretty isolated within their own little sphere, and they sort of do things the way they always have or the way they think they should be done without trying to look at previous teams or the knowledge that's available in the community, or just aren't aware of those resources. And I think we could do a better job as a whole community at getting those resources out to.
And I think that kind of perfectly segues into this person's fourth point, which is like, basically, they're saying like, like there's so many resources available to teams to help them succeed. So I think we've kind of covered that then. FRC, this person also says, FRC is inherently expensive and recent price increases are justified to support the program, vendors, and economics required to operate and sustain a robotics team. There does exist a limit where it is too expensive, but we have not hit that yet.
I think that's just, it's expensive. I think some things are definitely a bit more expensive, but I don't know all the logistics that go into there or what they make. I don't know, like, how much profit they're making. I suspect that a lot of the vendors aren't necessarily making much profit at all. Like, it's tricky. It's very tricky. I think if you go by his other take, which is more teams should switch to FTC, then this becomes a lot more of a valid take, a lot more agreeable, because you have more people competing in an inherently less expensive program. Like, I think that is sort of feeding into the other point of people are, for whatever reason, just way too hesitant to play FTC instead of FRC.
Yeah.
FTC is still like decently complicated and like
Yeah,
as like
like
competitive
it's
as
pretty
FRC.
cool.
I've seen a lot of
your camera.
teams-
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I've seen a lot of competitive teams just make like probably the most like competitive robot ever. Like take a look at Upper Creek, or even like I saw a team make FTC Swerve, and it was pretty competitive. I believe it was Cookie Bots making a coaxial swerve system. It was very cool. So it's not necessarily boring and mediocre as some people might think. It's still as like competitive and cool and interesting as FRC itself.
Just has more of a stigma to it, I guess. Like more of a preconceived smaller robot equals bad.
But I feel like smaller robot would honestly be like harder because you got to fit all those mechanisms and everything into like a tiny little robot versus like a giant.
I think there's a sizing cube in FRC. Or FTC. There's a sizing cube that you have to fit within.
Yeah, like that's difficult to do.
Packaging is hard.
Journal experience.
That is coming from experience. There are some of the robots I've done that like batteries in the most cursed locations you can imagine.
The underside of the belly. Yeah.
not even more cursed than that. But
I know Nerd Spark in I think 2023 had the under like battery thing.
But even the WCP Catathon submission that I was a part of had probably the weirdest battery placement I've ever had the displeasure of seeing with my eyes.
The displeasure.
It's quite something. Had to fit it somewhere though, and by that point, because of course it was forgotten until the very last second. By that point, there was nowhere else it would fit. So
if
that
it works,
was
it
great.
works. If it works, it works.
His next point is there are a number of adults in this program who participate because they like having a place to tinker with engineering toys and be in a position of power and influence over others that they do not normally have in real life. This is frankly just weird and is the cause for a majority of sour mentor and volunteer interactions. Maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I haven't come from, like, personally, like, when I was in South Sides, I don't feel like, sure, there was the thought of, like, curiosity and, like, tinkering.
Yeah. I think it's important that mentors actually do have some amount of time to mess around with the FRC stuff and do stuff, because at the end of the day, if we're going to be teaching it, right, we have to have some amount of knowledge of the modern control systems and the way things are working now, workflow. We got to keep up. If we want to teach well, we have to keep up to date with the way things currently work. Whether that be keeping up with resources that are available now, CAD or code platforms, and I think part of keeping up with all of that means tinkering ourselves a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I definitely think there is, again, a balance to it. And I'm sure there are people who are not on, or who are not balanced in that way. And I think it's probably significantly more harmful to be over involved than it is to be like a little bit disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think, like, personally, I do think it's good to tinker, but also I think as someone who is a mentor now and someone who does know other mentors, like, I've never really seen people who are like, oh, I want to have power and influence over
Yeah.
like a bunch of teenagers. Like, I don't know. I've never.
Of all the people to have power and influence over, teenagers is probably the least, like, the worst
Appealing.
group to try that on.
That's the thing you hear every day is like some adult wanting to have power over a bunch of teenagers. To
Like
just
personally,
I
I'd probably pick like a flock of geese or something. Real damn.
A flock of geese.
That is quite something.
You know, Canadian.
I mean, Canadian geese would just attack you on the way.
Exactly, like they would tear
It's
you
our
apart.
Navy, man.
They already have power. What are you talking about?
Our Navy is powerful.
Give them, like having power over them would be such a power move, you know.
Yeah. The seventh take is pretty short, and I don't have much opinion about it because I haven't seen much of Vex IQ. But the point is that, or the take is that Vex IQ is a considerably better and more accessible engineering platform than the Lego system that FLL uses.
I mean, I don't know much about Vex, but I was an FLL kid, and I think, like, I don't know, like, I think it's pretty, like, the FLL, like, the Lego system that they use, it's pretty intuitive. There's a lot of tutorials online. Like, it's Lego, you know, you can build it. Like, I have my own little, like, the EV3 and stuff. Like, I think they use Spike Prime now and stuff, but yeah, I had my own EV3 set, and then on my former teams and stuff, we had like all sorts of stuff that we could just use. Like, it's, you know, like, it's Lego and it's not difficult, and like the coding is like block based, I guess you could call it.
They have options,
and,
I
like,
think, for both Scratch and
that,
Python now, which is good.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, I think block based coding.
It's fine. I have a bit of a unique perspective on block-based. I started programming solely through Scratch in like grade 5. It's a very interesting way of programming, and I learned a bit. What it did was break down the, I guess, like, nervousness to try other things later on. Like learning Python and stuff when I started that. But I found that it didn't transfer over many of those skills, like some of the things you subconsciously start to do in Scratch. For example, I couldn't do those things right away in Python or once I learned the syntax. I had to sort of relearn all of those concepts. And then I was able to look back at my old stuff and say, oh, this is what I was doing when I did this. This is...
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense now. I think it's a great way to get kids into programming and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily the best way to learn.
Yeah, like, I think it's a good way to kind of introduce them to different things, like loops and different, like, commands and... stuff like that.
It kind of just breaks down like this like complicated like a for loop or a while loop. It just breaks it down into a block that you can just learn.
Yeah.
And once you get that concept, you can slowly learn like how do they actually work in the real world instead of like being in a block form.
But I feel like like block based is, for me at least, like quite different from like the type of stuff that people do in like the real world, because like the only programming language that I know like a little bit of is JavaScript, because I did that in grade 10, and it wasn't terrible, but it was different. It was very, very different from block based. Like, my block based experience did not help me at all.
I guess sudden shift from like coding block to like this, like you're in front of like a, I guess, command prompt now that you can just type out like stuff. So it's kind of just a big shift.
Yeah. But I think that the core concept of like for loops and stuff were still there. Okay. Moving on.
Is there like a 9th and 10th of this? Like, it's gone on for so long.
What's
on 13.
Time?
We have been recording for an hour. So this is going to be another long episode.
Do you want to split it into a 2-parter then?
Maybe. That might be a good idea.
Okay.
I'll see when I go into editing it. and I'll just pop in a little thing. And then if I decide, then we can maybe get back together and record a quick another intro. This is Hot Take 13. Alright. First should kill the banned music list. Anything acceptable for a public hits radio station is acceptable for events. Music is an important shared cultural experience and should represent the diversity of the FIRST community.
Agreed.
No.
No.
I'm gonna hard.
I mean, I was a DJ at Stemley. Sure, that list is annoying, but there are some songs in that list which I am happy to have that on the band list. There is no way this should be played in front of a bunch of teenagers of all places.
There's a lot of really weird music that is culturally acceptable for some reason, and like I completely agree. My playlists consist mostly of like instrumental stuff, so I'm a bit biased, but like I think there should be more songs on the band music list. The number of songs I've listened to at events and been like,
and some songs were like banned for like being too sad.
Sad?
Yes.
There are some songs at events that I'm listening to and I'm like, bro, why is this being played at a somewhat serious robotics event? Why am I hearing this? I don't want to be hearing this. Why?
But I feel like, you know what's worse than like the band music is those. I think 2024 they had all those like AI generated. I don't know if this is another person world, but it was in Ontario.
Yeah.
I didn't like. I'm
Ringer,
sorry.
ringer. No. If I have to hear that one more time.
Spotlight ringer.
So bad.
Climb
So
trap,
bad.
something like that.
Oh,
Oh
man.
my, that's around climb trap, something like that. That's a new one.
Amp trap stage and harmony points winner.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my gosh.
When I heard that when I was on the field, I just like after the match, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I've been sitting like
Please.
when you're sitting in the stands for like hours and hours, especially when the first API was down, so everyone was like panicking, and then you hear that.
Spotlight ringer.
I like literally left
that's
and
when
went
you
to
know.
Tim's. I was like, no, thank you.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The second I heard that song, I walked. This is a. The second I heard that song, I walked all the way to concessions and just stood there and just bought food and just stayed out in the hallway until it ended.
Yeah, I think when I heard that for like the third time at Humber that year, that was when the API was down. I just literally went and walked to Tim's. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So, yeah.
We're gone.
I was too
Oh my
busy.
gosh.
I was too busy drive coaching to pay attention to the music, so.
Yeah, but I feel like some songs that are on like the band list are like honestly not that bad, and there's some that I'm like, yeah, definitely, like I do not want that playing. If I have that playing, I will run to Tim Hortons.
Oh man.
Classic Timmy's.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next one or more stuff?
Please, I don't want to.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
And music list.
All right. So our next hot take here is FRC games have reached a stasis point where enough core elements can be assumed to be the same year to year or borrowable from the extensive back catalog of past games and robots that it's beginning to no longer effectively teach students the skills to tackle novel engineering problems, instead disproportionately rewarding long-running, well-connected programs that have stockpiled sufficient domain-specific tribal knowledge and universally applicable COTS components that they can cut and paste into an acceptable solution over well-reasoned experimentation, iteration, and innovation. Goodness, this is so long. My English
That is
is
a
breaking
very
down.
long sentence.
That's a very long.
This
Not
is
the
like
sentence
my
that I'm
writing.
writing, Matt.
What is
That's
this?
The glaze writing.
The program would definitely be more effective, or would more effectively serve students by more dramatically changing up the fundamental nature of the competition year to year, having everybody start on the same page with a dramatically different task. One year, the F in FRC stands for Flying Robotics Competition. Drone game. The next year, First Rocketry Competition. We're doing USLI. USLI? Okay. USLI as challenge. Next year, First Racing Cars.
These are horrible names. I'm sorry. What?
Next year, next year, Flexible Robotics Competition. Soft Robotics. Bring back the feeling of absolutely uncertainty the game reveals must have held back in the 90s, where carpet versus corn flooring were equally probable options. Also, obviously, an extreme example with all kinds of logistical challenges that I don't necessarily actually want. And achieving comparable levels of spectator spectacle year to year would be a big challenge, but I do think we're reaching a worrying tipping point where very significant elements of FRC design are becoming solved, and would rather see them shake it up than making the game design more static. I disagree.
I want to drink some water after reading the most longest sentence. Oh my god!
That was
Are you okay?
very long.
I am
that
okay.
was a very long sentence.
Anyway, this isn't CD writing critique. This is first hot takes and reacting to them. But yeah, I disagree for the most part. I think the challenge of FIRST isn't coming up with mechanisms per se. And that's part of the reason why it's so fun to watch, is because there are a lot of these similar ideas we can bring over from year to year. What makes each year unique is the packaging, and how all of those mechanisms go together. It's a bit more of a high level, how do I make this work? It takes away some of, or it maybe abstracts the engineering problem a little bit. But I think it's, for a high school robotics competition, it's perfectly fine. I think these sorts of things are obviously things you find lots of in like university clubs and stuff, and I think that's where they're best suited, is to where your students are getting more specialized and you're starting to really dive into a specific area. I don't think they'd be good things for, we're going to build a rocket this year, or we're going to build soft robotics this year, because those are things that are also, like, yeah, I don't know. I like the way FIRST is
like rockets and stuff. I feel like there's also kind of a safety element.
I
Like,
think
I would
they
not
were
trust
like
a grade 9 to build a rocket. I'm so sorry.
that's fair. I think they were trying to just spitballing
Yeah, like,
ideas that
obviously,
they weren't gonna they wouldn't
Yeah.
want GDC to actually do, but
Yeah.
the
But,
idea
like,
of it is still, I'm not sold on it
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah,
I
like, I think-
the way the formula that they
Like,
currently
would it be
have.
cool? Yes, but also I think those clubs, as you like, those things would be more suited to like university clubs.
And those
As
things
you said,
already
like,
exist.
where students are more experienced, more specialized, and they also have that level, or like somewhat more mature.
Also, those things already exist. Like,
Yeah.
rocketry clubs are a thing. There's soft robotics competitions. There are
They have, like,
underwater
Formula-
robotics competitions. Drone
They have like
building.
Baja racing and all that.
Like, there's tons of stuff out there. Like, that FIRST isn't the only program, and I think FIRST, for what its program is I don't think we need to switch
Yeah.
up the formula all that much, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
The one thing that I specifically also disagree with in this one is like, oh, you know, like it's disproportionately rewarding long-running, well-connected programs that have kind of like knowledge. But I feel like because like we are able to access like CAD and videos and stuff, like match videos from like past years. Like there's a lot of ways to get inspiration. Like every year on Kickoff Day, I usually go and like watch videos of previous games that have similar kind of elements. Like for Crescendo and stuff, like when I was helping to design, I watched a lot of stuff from like 2013 and stuff. Just to see what they were doing and see how we can adapt that and stuff. Like
And even then, like, there's still a lot of stuff that's just not as applicable anymore. Like pneumatics are hugely like a bunch of, like they're gone. No, almost
Gone.
nobody I know uses pneumatics anymore. You look
Yeah.
at old robots, pneumatics everywhere. It is
Yeah.
the way to do things.
Yeah.
Just things do change
Mhm.
because it is more of a set formula. They change slower. Like we got more like a dead axle, for example. I don't know necessarily. This I could be wrong on this, but if I'm not mistaken, that's more of a recent thing. Things like swerve really took off recently. Like we're not looking back at old crab drives and like that sort of thing to try and
Yeah.
take inspiration for those things. And there are certainly concepts that we're bringing over, but those concepts also come from outside of FRC, like elevators. Like, have you seen a forklift? Like,
Forklift certified.
yeah, like it's to an extent. I see where he's coming from, but I don't think it's a problem. Like, there's enough variety from game to game. There's enough variety in team capabilities, and there is definitely some element of tribal knowledge where teams like 254 are going to have more experience to draw from. But I think that you can get quite close with all the resources that are available because FIRST is a fairly open community as far as competitive communities go. With like OA and all of that, and there's so many resources out there. You can essentially essentially have access to the majority of that tribal knowledge that could give you an edge. There are certainly some things that having that much experience is just going to give you, but I don't think it's that huge of an advantage.
Yeah. And I think also the fact that this person's also saying, you know, like it's not teaching students the skills to tackle novel engineering problems. Well, I mean,
we gotta teach them the engineering, any engineering at this point. Like, not to mention engineering is not the only thing we're doing, right? So there's mechanical and there's electrical. There's all sorts of those other fields where they are learning very valuable things with this specific way we're doing it right now that they might not learn in other styles of competing.
Yeah. And like, I mean, like, I don't know much about engineering because that's not what I'm going into, but I feel like in like the real world, wouldn't people kind of draw inspiration from existing systems the same way we do when we're building our robots to tackle new challenges?
There's tribal knowledge in every field. There just always is going to be. And someone's going to be more connected, and someone's going to have been in those areas for longer, and yeah, it's just the way being on Earth works.
Alright, next one.
Let's see. Which one is this? Alright. Flat out nixing any form of video review at events the way FIRST has is disrespectful to teams. It doesn't sit right with the person that wrote this, that the number or for the amount of effort that goes into building robots and the limited and very expensive field time that we get. FIRST doesn't think it's worth it for them to do or to correct scoring errors or those sorts of things. Obviously, they say humans are going to make mistakes, but like matches are expensive, robots are expensive, registration is expensive. The courtesy of getting a match review is worth it for how much we're paying in and how much time we're putting into the program.
I agree with that.
They go on to state that I'm sure there are plenty of referees and head referees in the program who would love the ability to quickly make sure they saw what they thought they saw or didn't miss anything in a match. Additionally, I think for some of the time it might add, or Yeah, for the amount of time it adds to events, full video review of matches has the potential to save time by helping quickly resolve the 3-minute post-match huddles where figuring out what happens in a match becomes a frantic struggle against the pressure to keep the event running on time.
I don't.
I don't know. I have been in situations where I wish there were more recourse for referee stuff, and I have definitely. I agree with some parts of it, but like FRC events take so much time.
I know.
Yeah.
They're always like at
it's-
least an hour delayed and
There's
stuff.
there's never it's never on schedule. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I
There's
feel like
always
also I have seen a lot of cases where video evidence would have been very, very beneficial
Yeah.
in deciding an outcome.
Like,
it's also the fact. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
It's also the fact that sometimes, like, this is like drawing from experience, but sometimes when you do get something like a match replay, like without like video evidence, it's sometimes frustrating for the other alliance because you have just requested to redo the entire match again, and it's just even wasting more time. But it doesn't really matter sometimes. It's usually just.
I've been involved in my fair share of match replay shenanigans.
Oof. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
24.
No, don't get me started on Humber, man. Humber 24.
Humber. Ugh.
Ugh,
Humber.
Good defense.
Frustrating when the entire like stadium hated you because
Yeah.
you requested a replay.
It's quite something. I think before we can start to think about this sort of thing, before FIRST can, or we as a community can look into this, we really need to like streamline some of the other parts of events, which I don't know is necessarily possible either, because like teams, if something breaks, they're already struggling to have enough time to fix things between matches. Like streamlining things takes away that time, and I don't know if that's necessarily something we want. It's tricky.
Yeah, like I think FIRST should probably at some point in the next couple of years bring in video review, not necessarily for like every single match, but if it's like something a bit more egregious, like
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't think of any like things off the top of my head right now, but like something that's a bit more egregious that could be like, I don't know, like match, something that could decide the fate of a match, or
Match
call for a
affecting.
replay, or like a penalty or a card or something. Like I think that could be.
Gerald. Been there, done that.
Match replays are quite something. Sorry, I just had flashbacks to. Was it? I think Durham this year. Humber last year.
Humber.
Don't get me to flashback.
Humber.
Man.
Durham last year. Oh, it felt kind of shameful that everyone. This is. I'm just gonna say it now.
It's rough.
Like honestly.
It's so
People didn't like us after we requested a replay during playoffs, and the opposite alliance I've also heard when I was walking back wasn't happy either. So
I've had my fair share of salt directed towards my driver. So
I've had salt directed to
Like,
my
I
entire
think-
team.
yeah, that's right.
Like I think like in the case where something has happened that is like egregious, and if you have video evidence that can justify, like actually justify a replay, not just like I want a replay, you
I
know,
want a replay.
Definitely.
give me a replay.
There are definitely situations where replays aren't necessarily necessary, and there definitely are situations where replays should have been done.
Yeah.
It's tricky. The person requesting the replay is always going to think a replay is desirable, and sometimes the opposing alliance might agree, sometimes they won't. It'll be always a fight to get them to agree, because presumably if you're requesting a replay, the opposing alliance won. But it's a tricky situation. It's a tricky situation all around.
I don't think it happens much in Ontario. I don't think. Like
I've only seen
I've had my probably a disproportionate impact on the number of replays, which is unfortunate.
my experience, it doesn't really happen.
moving on.
Is this the last one?
Yes. That's before we have some of our own that we wrote down here that maybe we want to get to, or maybe we save that for a part 2. Save our own hot takes for a part 2 and stick all of these in a kind of long part 1.
I think I kind of already...
We can come up... We'll worry about this later. We'll finish up this one, and then I think we might as well leave it at that. It is getting kind of late.
Oh my gosh, it's almost 10
for FRC students, come on now. This is
okay,
rookie numbers.
I have to go to work tomorrow, man.
The W word. The W word.
No. I have a job. Get jump scared, internet. Okay.
I'm actually gonna take time at the end of this episode to swap this fly. I swear it's been bothering me. Like the entire episode's just been flying past my screen. It's like
That's rough. Okay. Our last hot take of the evening then is I think FIRST should bring back a game design competition every few years. I know it was a filler during COVID, but there were genuinely so many good ideas that my camera's going to turn off.
3.
Let's go. That's an hour and a half of recording for us.
Let's get a general count of how many times this camera died on.
Yeah.
So that
All
should be
right.
a video.
We should do like a bingo. Like your camera goes.
A bingo,
I dropped
dude.
something,
That'd be
make a
so
weird
hype.
face.
That's
There's a bug.
That's actually such a good idea for the premieres. Host a bingo card or something. That'd be fun.
That would be right.
That would be really fun.
That's a good idea. All right. Anyway, there were genuinely so many good ideas. Some that FIRST obviously liked. 2024, 2025. Was 2020? Yeah, it was. Anyway, 2024, 2025 both had inspiration from games. I think 2024 a little bit more directly, like...
Yeah, with Storm Surge.
Yeah.
Circuits of Storm Surge.
The students liked working on it, and it was something physical to build if you built dioramas or models at a scale we rarely get to work in. Don't think it should be required for teams, just that don't want to put work into that, just like awards and such. It could be interesting to force like a game piece or something, or like do some... Sorry, I'm getting off track. I'm losing my train of thought. To keep it interesting, they could force one game piece and part of the field, like the chains. Okay. I can't read anymore. Yay.
It has been an hour here. So.
Okay. To keep it interesting, they could force what one game piece is and part of the field, like the chain, so teams can't plan ahead. They could also require that any themes fall in some more specific genre or category. We also have April tags now, and I'm guessing that after 2027 we'll see some more cool stuff. We'll have more cool capabilities with bots as the hardware improves and teams continue pushing the hardware to its limits. We will need a ton of new game ideas for newer generations of robotics. If it was done like every 4 years, we could see what teams are thinking will be a fun and challenging game, and students would theoretically have a chance to participate during their tenure with the team. Extra idea, what if the game design requires them to reuse a game piece and a field element from that season's game, but redo everything else? I like this. I think it's a good idea. I think maybe you could open it up to a bit of the... Well, no, you want to keep it to students, I guess. But, like... Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I like it.
I like it.
I agree. I don't have anything else to add. I agree.
Just like I think it's a good idea.
I think for like the end bit as well, like reusing game pieces, I think from previous seasons would be cool. Because I think, especially for students who are kind of more interested in FRC history and stuff, who've been like, oh, I wish I had been born to play this game.
It also serves this.
Me.
It also serves this cool use cool material for like catathons and stuff. I think overall it would just be beneficial for the community, and maybe even if First doesn't run this, maybe this is something we can do as a community. You just set up a mini off-season game design competition or like something along those lines, like a game design challenge jam, like a game jam of sorts, but for designing an FRC game as opposed to making a video game in 2 weeks or whatever.
We have seen this with catathons, like West Coast is I believe
Dunk
Tank it was called.
Some of these games are better than others. Game design committee games are always going to be a lot more polished than anything that I've seen from teams so far, but like I think it could be a cool way to send ideas over to them indirectly, and it could be just a nice thing to use for catathons as well, because at least I know a number of the catathons I've competed in have been based off of game design challenge submissions, and it's fun to do some of those. The very wide variety of challenges and ways to play the games. It's cool. I think it's a good idea. Well, it is about 10 o'clock at the time of recording this. We've been recording for an hour and a half. I think that's a good spot to end this episode.
That was a solid Yap Fest.
That was a solid episode. I agree. Obviously, our first guest, we had Eris on. I hope you enjoyed it. I loved it. I had tons of fun yapping with you. Maybe we'll have you on more. Maybe we'll have you on more often. Like
we totally should.
We totally should. With that said, yeah. If you like this episode, if I put it in one long episode, if you enjoy it staying that longer format, please let me know. Or if you think I should have split it into 2 parts, let me know. I had things I was gonna say at the end of this episode. Earlier in the episode, I had things planned to say. I don't have them anymore. So, I'm Gerald.
I'm Anushka.
I'm Eris.
And have a good one. We'll see you guys later in the next episode. Hopefully in 2 weeks we'll see again. Schedules and such. We got some fun stuff in the works, I think. So, au revoir.